talking about, Jim? I do the choreography, man.
The dresser, he's not here to take your place, man. He's here to just help out.
It'd be hard for any man to risk his life, especially if he doesn't understand the reason.
The world needs you too, Louis.
Whether that's true, only time will tell. What I know now is that working with you has changed me. It's changed all of us. Now, we had to get him out of the real post office so that after the meeting, we could bring him back here.
I grew up in the rough and tumble, neighborhood was a kind of smash up. Gangsters, preachers, Muslims from the Nation of Islam, and teachers. It was at the time when opportunity to move to other neighborhoods. I was in a seminary. I was going to be a priest when I was a young man. And so I always try to find references or parallels. Sometimes, and I haven't always been a practicing Christian. Right. And I think that there's nothing in that book that you can't find something to speak to whatever it is you're doing.
Our ambition is to manage as many of the support trades to our performing arts facilities as possible. A costume shop, a scene shop, a dedicated museum, performing arts center. We will populate these stages with resident dance and theater companies.
Harry Lennix is not just a commanding presence on screen. With that deep voice and intense charisma, you might think you've got him figured out. But trust me, his journey is bursting with wild twists and juicy secrets. Lennix's story is packed with enough surprises to keep you hooked from start to finish. Harry Joseph Lennix III burst onto the scene on November 16, 1964, growing up in a city where toughness isn't just a trait, it's a necessity. Lennix got a crash course in reality early on.
So I grew up in Chicago on the South Side, a place called South Shore. My childhood was, I guess, pretty typical, but I didn't have a father because my father died before I wasn't quite 2 years old. So I have no real recollection of him, but I remember my mother raising us, sent us all to Catholic schools. So I was an altar boy. When I became a high school student, I went to the seminary, the high school seminary. I met the Pope, John Paul II, when he was first installed and so forth. And I grew up in the rough and tumble, neighborhood was a kind of smash up. Gangsters, preachers, Muslims from the Nation of Islam, and teachers. It was at the time when opportunity to move to other neighborhoods weren't there yet. And so we had everybody from every walk of life. All looked out, so I kind of lived a charmed life in this very heady time, Black Power movement, and also of the racial politics of Chicago, which is and remains actually one of the most segregated cities in America, if not the most.
Let's just say he learned how to survive and thrive in a place where every day was a new challenge. For Harry Lennix, the church was like a breath of fresh air in a world full of chaos, and being an altar boy gave him a sense of peace and purpose amid the madness. By high school, he thought maybe the priesthood could be his ticket out, a safe haven from the street drama that was all around him. The idea of heading to seminary was enticing, a straight path away from all that noise.
But I remember my mother raising us, sent us all to Catholic schools. So I was an altar boy. When I became a high school student, I went to the seminary, the high school seminary. Met the Pope, John Paul II, when he was first installed and so forth.
But guess what? Life had other plans for Lennix, pulling him away from the pulpit and launching him onto a much bigger stage, one filled with its own kind of drama and excitement. Acting came calling when he least expected it. While performing in a school play, he experienced a thrill that made his previous altar dreams feel dull. That rush from the crowd? Pure magic. In an instant, the straight-laced path he thought he was destined for lost its shine. It wasn't long before he tossed those seminary plans aside and dove headfirst into the world of acting.
But somehow in that Chicago environment, something intrigued me about acting. And I did a play while I was in the seminary, and people responded to it and thought that I was rather precocious at the time, I guess, and thought that I had a potential career. And so I decided to give it a shot, leave the seminary and study at Northwestern. And so I became the head of the Black Student Union there. I led the Black Student Theater there. I was still very much involved involved in student government and all kinds of social issues. But I learned a tremendous amount about what it takes to be an actor, to be conscientious, follow techniques, rules, regulations that make what makes effective performance, what makes effective theater, what makes an effective story. I learned to tell stories there, and so that was my youth and those. And
before his acting career really took off, though, Lennix took on a few roles far from the stage or screen. He became a high school teacher of all things, teaching physics and music. Just picture it. A future Hollywood actor explaining formulas and musical notes to a classroom of teens.
Because I know that you were once a public school teacher of music and physics, so you've had a whole bunch of lives as well. But tell us about studying to become a priest.
I think, as a matter of fact, I think we met each other, Christina, at Fordham. I came by one day, did I not? And did a something with August Wilson. It was some sort of a special session. Anyway, I think that was you. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yet even that wasn't enough excitement. In a surprising left turn, Lennix tried his hand at bouncing.
I was a bouncer once at a club in Chicago, like some Irish dive bar on a Saturday night. I lasted one night. I was proud to have gone that far with it.
But that little experiment didn't last long. Just one chaotic night on the job was enough to make him realize that the door life had opened wasn't exactly for him. The first and last night behind the velvet rope was all it took for him to bounce right out the door, leaving his bouncer days in the dust as he continued down a path that would lead him straight to Hollywood. With a passion for acting that's as fierce as his on-screen presence,
I gave the world certain laws and principles to abide by. To answer your first question, I am God.
Harry Lennix burst onto the scene and made sure everyone was watching. He kicked off his career playing Malcolm X at Chicago's Goodman Theater.
You see our children bleeding and in tears, and you seek to comfort them.
And let me tell you, that performance had critics raving and audiences buzzing like a hive of bees. It wasn't just a role. It was his ticket to ride straight into the limelight. But the real game changer? When he stepped into the shoes of Dresser in the 5 Heartbeats.
I got nothing but love for you, baby.
That role was like the cherry on top of his career sundae, catapulting him into Hollywood fame and making him a household name. From then on, Lennix was everywhere, snatching up roles that showcased his incredible talent. Who could forget him as General Swanwick in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman?
Be that as it may, I've been given orders to hand you over to him.
Do what you have to do, General.
Dawn of Justice, he brought that commanding presence, moving effortlessly from military leader to key player in the superhero game.
And some have called me the Martian Manhunter.
And let's not sleep on his role as Commander Locke in The Matrix Reloaded.
I don't care about oracles or prophecies or messiahs. I care about one thing: stopping that army from destroying this city. And to do that, I need soldiers to obey my orders.
He had fans on the edge of their seats, navigating the wild and complicated world of Zion with style and flair. Every character he played revealed new sides of his talent, making him a fan favorite audiences couldn't get enough of.
When Governor Pora signed the marriage equality legislation into effect, she ceased living as a Catholic, period.
But here's the tea. Lennix wasn't just satisfied with acting. He was ready to shake things up. He launched his own production company, Exponent Media Group, and wasn't about to sit back and wait for roles to come to him. He took matters into his own hands, producing and starring in several films.
Man, what got into you?
Work, hard work.
Lennix is not just a player in the game. He's out here making big moves, ensuring his voice and vision are heard loud and clear in an industry that often tries to overshadow talented artists. For a decade, Harry Lennix kept audiences hooked as Harold Cooper on The Blacklist.
In some cases, we recovered dangerous weapons or avoided catastrophic outbreaks.
Your Honor.
Let me finish.
But trust, the real drama in his life goes way beyond the screen. Before that big role, Lennix was this close to calling it quits on Hollywood altogether? Yep, you read that right. Fed up with the endless bias and pay gaps, he was ready to walk away. And like so many black actors, he knew that fight firsthand and wasn't about to fade quietly. Lennix took a stand, pushing for equal pay, especially for women, in an industry that's all too quick to silence conversations on fairness.
In addition, the greater society has to be willing and has to determine and demand that everybody is treated equally. It's the easiest thing in the world. What's hard about paying a woman the same amount for the same work that a man would do? Other than it's in the mindset, and it's the nature of capitalism and of people. But that's just a realization that I think a great deal has gone into the zeitgeist again, where people are now aware of it. And once you're aware of it, I think you could make the steps to change it.
But it gets juicier when the infamous Oscars slap went down.
Oh, wow! Wow! Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Lennix didn't hesitate to stir the pot. He boldly called out Will Smith.
This article is about Man of Steel actor Harry Lennix demands Will Smith return his Oscar, claims Smith's 10-year ban lays bare the shallowness of Hollywood morals,
labeling them as brutal and disgraceful. Now that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. While most were too busy tiptoeing around the topic, Lennix dropped that bomb, putting him directly in the crosshairs of Smith's loyal fan base. But here's the kicker. He stood firm, unbothered by the backlash. Lennix is not one to back down when he believes in something, proving that he's not just a talented actor, but a fierce advocate for change in an industry that desperately needs it. Harry Lennix might have a reputation for being the cool, collected class act, but even he's had a few embarrassing moments that'll make you cringe. Imagine this. He walks into an audition for a sitcom, oozing confidence, ready to show these casting folks who's boss. The role? A school principal. And with his background as a public school teacher, he figured he could just wing it. How hard could it be, right? Wrong. The second he stepped in front of that casting panel, he realized he hadn't even bothered to look at the script. What followed was a disaster. He fumbled through the lines, blanked out, and stumbled around like a rookie. Reality check. This wasn't just another role. It was a big shot to prove his chops. The humiliation was real, and you could almost hear the secondhand embarrassment from across the room. Lennix walked out of there with a harsh but unforgettable lesson. No matter how skilled or experienced you think you are, preparation is everything. That audition taught him a whole new level of respect for showing up ready to wow. And let's just say he hasn't made that mistake twice. One controversy that really got people talking was Harry Lennix's take on the Joss Whedon scandal in 2021. Just as actors like Ray Fisher and Charisma Carpenter were calling out Whedon for creating a toxic work environment, Lennix threw everyone a curveball. Instead of joining the crowd ready to cancel Whedon, Lennix had the nerve to suggest giving the man a second chance to explain himself. Bold? Absolutely. And the backlash was swift. Social media had a field day, with fans and fellow actors split on whether he was being way too forgiving or just keeping it real by pushing for a more balanced view. But here's the twist. Lennix didn't flinch. He doubled down, standing by his belief that in an industry quick to cancel, people should be given a shot at redemption. After all, he's seen both sides of the Hollywood machine, with all its highs and lows. He made it clear he valued forgiveness and growth over harboring grudges, insisting that folks should move forward rather than cling to the past. His stance didn't win him any popularity awards, but it sure kept people buzzing, long after the scandal had faded from the headlines. Harry Lennix's career has been filled with unexpected turns. Today, he's still deeply invested in his craft with a net worth of around $4 million. Outside of acting, he's spearheading the Lillian Marcy Center.
And so we have a holistic approach to culture, which we think will benefit not just the South Side of Chicago and the children who will be able to aspire for something they can see in their own neighborhoods, where they won't have to leave to get world-class entertainment that they invented.
An arts complex in Chicago he calls the Black version of Lincoln Center. His dedication to creating a space for African American artists speaks to his roots and his legacy, ensuring his impact reaches far beyond Hollywood. He has also been married to his wife Jenna Graves since 2009. Now 59, Harry Lennix isn't just another actor with a Hollywood tale. He's a storyteller, a teacher, an activist.
But what you may not know is that I'm a born-again Christian with a passionate love for the gospel of Jesus Christ.
And a force in the industry. And with his infectious passion for Candy Crush as his guilty pleasure.
Candy Crush. It drives my wife up a tree, but I do it anyway.
Lennix remains one of the most human, unfiltered actors around. One who's here to stay, making a difference on and off the screen.